welcome to the Mosaic Campus Church live stream this evening. We're so happy that you decided to join us tonight. In case you don't know who I am, my name is Steve Grimes. I get the honor of being the pastor at Mosaic Campus Church, and it's an honor as well to be your host this evening. We have a great stream coming up for you. We have Courtney Sturge leading us in some worship. Tonight is our story night, which we've been doing every semester now for a little while, where we highlight a story of a family member, a part of Mosaic, and kind of look at that story and learn from it and apply it to our own relationships with Jesus. And so tonight's story is going to be awesome and inspiring for you. So make sure you stay tuned and take notes, engage with the content, and then the small group questions that we'll have afterwards as well. But before we get into that, we just have a few announcements for you as we kind of end a week and start a new one. There's lots happening this week in terms of the life of our family at Mosaic Campus Church that we want you to join in on. So here's some announcements for you for that. The first one is our Netflix party, which is happening this coming Wednesday, May 20th at 7:30 p.m. We've done this a couple times before where we've taken in a good movie. There's a spot there where you can have a chat with each other, enjoy some good movie snacks, of course, and this has been a great way to socialize with each other during this time. And so if you want to be a part of that, all you have to do is sign up at the link bit.ly/MCC Netflix party. And all you're going to do is put in your name and your email. And right before that begins, we'll send you the link and how you join in on that movie. Make sure you take that in. It's a great time of us just gathering together, connecting with one another, and taking in a good movie as well. Also, a couple weeks ago, we launched our small groups. And if you haven't joined in on those yet, it's not too late. All you have to do is email us at mosaiccampuschurch@gmail.com, and we'll get you the right Zoom link for you. If you know our small group facilitators, Nathan and Jesse, you can message them personally, and they'll get you connected as well. Something we launched last week is our Mosaic study groups, which have been happening on Thursdays at 7:30 p.m. The last one, I'm sure, was great for those who are studying. And if you've been finding you're doing schoolwork during this time, you find it hard to be motivated, even need some accountability so that you make sure that you do some work during this time, we've set up this Mosaic study group. And all you have to do, again, is sign up at the link bit.ly/MCC study group. We'll send you the Zoom meeting ID and password so you can join in on that. This is an awesome time just to connect with each other, but also be very productive in the studying that you need to get done. So make sure you take advantage of that this week. As well, like we've launched for a few weeks now, right after this stream, we'll have our Mosaic After Party Zoom chats. This is basically a time for us to have a conversation together, connect, talk about our week, but also dig into this content a little more that we may have heard in the stream, the experience that we've had during worship. Tonight we'll have actually small group questions based on the story night, so we'll work through those together. So if you want to be a part of that, sign up at the link bit.ly/MCC After Party, and as soon as the stream is done, we'll send you out the Zoom link, and we'll join in right away. So make sure you take in that tonight. As well, this week we're really excited to launch something new during this season in this life of, or the family life of Mosaic Campus Church, and something we're calling Mosaic Cares. And for anyone who's been a part of Mosaic for a while, you would recognize that we are big in Love Your Campus initiatives, but also in hospitality. And we wanted to maintain that and even get even more creative during this time in those two major initiatives that we have. And so we're kind of putting an umbrella name over both of them called Mosaic Cares. And the whole purpose of it is, in the Love Your Campus initiative, is to give back to the campus and surrounding community and show that we're a church that cares that way, but also to give back in hospitality initiatives where we say we love our family, we want to give back and show that we care for our Mosaic family as well. And so in the coming weeks, we'll have some Love Your Campus initiatives that we would love for you to be a part of under this Mosaic Cares banner. But this week, we want to introduce to you to our first Mosaic Cares initiative under hospitality, where next Sunday on May 24th, we're going to be giving out Mosaic snack packs. And so for those who are in the city, I'm sorry for those who live outside the city. This is just physically impossible for you. We are really sorry about that. But for those who are in the city and you want to sign up for this, basically what's going to happen is you're going to sign up at a link. We'll get your address, and then next Sunday we're going to drop off a Mosaic snack pack with some classic snacks that we might have at Mosaic regularly when we're in the breezeway, but others that you would enjoy as well during the stream. And so it's some snacks for you to have during our stream next Sunday on May 24th. And so if you want to avail of that, you want a Mosaic snack pack dropped off to you, all you have to do is go to a link like everything else, bit.ly/Mosaic Cares, sign up there, and we'll make sure we drop off a Mosaic snack pack to you next Sunday. We're so excited, like I said, for our stream tonight with Courtney leading worship and looking at this story night. We have Rachel Lee with us, and she's going to share her story, and it's just awesome and inspiring, so make sure you take that in. But before we get into that, Courtney's going to lead us in worship, so kind of shift your posture, stand up if you need to, kneel if you want to, whatever works for you in this worship moment, and just join us as Courtney leads us tonight. Thanks for joining us.
Hi Mosaic, thanks so much for being here with us tonight. If you don't know me, my name is Courtney, and I'm just going to lead you in a couple worship songs. This evening, my good friend Adrian is here helping me out, so big thanks to him. We're just going to sing and worship together, so wherever you are, just join us and quiet your heart, quiet your spirit, and let's just listen to what the Lord has to say, and let's declare that He's good, that He's faithful, and let's just continue to do that through this season, just declare how good He is. So sing with us. I will sing of your goodness, I will sing of your love. Though the seasons change quickly, you have always been enough. Though the night may get darker, though the waiting seems long, you have always been faithful to remind me of your love. You are good. In the morning I'll sing, you are good. In the evening I'll sing, you are good. You are good to me. You have always been patient. You have always been kind. You're consistent through the ages. Oh, what a friend of mine. And I remind my soul to bless you, standing firm upon your truth. Oh, you cannot be shaken. I've seen what you can do. You are God, we just thank you for your goodness, for your love. for your faithfulness. We thank you that you never change, no matter what our circumstances are, no matter what situations we find ourselves in. You are the same and you are good. Your word tells us that you do all things well. We put our trust in you. We put our hope in you. Amen.
Hey, Rachel, thank you so much for joining us tonight. We are so happy to have you as part of our story night. You're such a valued member of our Mosaic family, and I know just even in talking to you that this is probably pushing you a little bit outside of your normal level of comfort. So thank you for saying yes, and we are super happy to hear from you tonight.
Yeah, thanks for asking me.
Absolutely. So we're going to jump right in with the first question for you. So help everybody that's watching tonight just to get to know you a little bit better. So what program are you in? Where did you grow up? Maybe you tell us some of your hobbies or any other interesting things about you that you want to share.
Okay. So I live in Paradise right now, and I've lived here my whole life. I've always been a townie.
Nice.
Right now in school, I just finished my third year. I'm doing a degree in psychology with a minor in religion. And my hobbies mostly include music-related things. So singing, writing music, playing instruments, but really anything that involves being any bit creative or artsy or anything. And
Awesome.
of course, I love hanging out with my dog.
Nice. What kind of dog do you have?
She's a Shih Tzu poodle,
Cute. And what's her name?
Gracie.
Nice. That's awesome. I also enjoy hanging out with my dog, probably a little bit too much. That's awesome. Awesome. So what was life growing up like for you, especially in terms of your church context? I know that you grew up involved in a Salvation Army community. So tell us a little bit about what that experience was like for you.
Yeah. So growing up, I've always gone to the same church. I go to St. John's Temple, and my family has always been super involved there. So right now my dad is the worship leader, and my mom leads the choir there. But they've always been involved in different capacities. So growing up, I was kind of always at church,
Nice.
multiple nights a week, and my life kind of revolved around that. Like I wouldn't sign up for any other school activity if a church activity was on that night. But I really loved going to church. I had a lot of friends there growing up, and they're still some of my best friends now. So I loved it. But yeah, my parents really instilled in me from a really young age that going to church and my faith and everything should really be a priority.
Yeah, that's amazing. They sound like amazing parents.
They are. I love them.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I'm sure that's being so involved too is probably a lot of where you get your love for music.
Yeah, for sure. Music is definitely a huge part of the Salvation Army.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
yeah, that's partly why I love it so much, because
Mm,
I love music and I love God, so just put them together.
amazing. That's awesome. How has your understanding of faith or your faith journey kind of evolved or grown since you've entered the post-secondary stage of life?
It's definitely evolved a lot since I've started mine. As I said earlier, I'm taking a minor in religion. So when I was picking my courses, I figured I should take some in Christianity or the Bible. And I thought, oh, I'm going to ace these courses because I've been learning about this my whole life.
Yeah.
They really looked at faith and everything from a completely different perspective. And rather than talking about that it was written, it talked about why it was written and when it was written and what was happening when it was written.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it was just a completely different perspective. And I was learning things that I had never learned before about like what I base my life around. And I was learning that some things that I'd always believed growing up, maybe they're not exactly 100% accurate. And so it kind of caused me to wrestle with my faith a little bit. And the way I saw it, I really had two options. I could, if one thing wasn't completely 100% historically accurate down to the detail, then I could just throw everything else out and say, oh, well, I can't trust anything then. Or I could think, okay, well, what does this mean then for me? How can I take this and incorporate it into my faith? So that's what I did. And I reached out to people whose opinions I really value, and they helped me see that the Bible really isn't supposed to be a history textbook. That's not why it was written. And so it's kind of fun when people try to read it that way. So I basically learned that it's super important to look at why it was written and think, well, then why does this apply to me, or how, or does it even apply to me?
Absolutely.
And so I really realized that the Bible isn't great because it has a lot of facts from ancient times that were all written down perfectly, because a lot of books are like that. The real beauty of the Bible is that it tells our story, and our story can be found in that story. So taking those courses and having that realization really made me realize that it's so important to ask those tough questions in faith, and those things that sometimes we're a bit afraid to talk about in church or to ask people about. Those questions are so important because that's what gives us our own personal relationship with Jesus.
Yeah.
And if we don't really dig into that, and if we don't try to see what it means for us, then we don't really have our own faith. We just have like our parents' faith or our pastor's faith. And I don't think that that's what Jesus wants for us. He doesn't want us to have this cookie cutter faith. He wants us to have like an authentic relationship with him. So I think that when you do have that kind of faith, then when difficulties arise, you're going to be able to stand firm, and you're going to be able to get through them because, you know, it's your own faith based on your experiences and your thoughts and what you've come to believe. So I guess all in all, my faith has kind of changed from thinking, oh, I wish I had faith like this person. I wish I could believe like this person and all these things, to saying, okay, what does faith mean to me? And figuring out really how my life fits into everything, and how my belief can be different from other people, and how that's okay.
Yeah. Wow. You learned all of that in the last several years. That's amazing. I feel like we can just be done now. We don't even have to talk about anything else. That's incredible. So challenging for all of us. Wow. Amazing. I feel like if we could all kind of wrestle with it that way. Fantastic. That's awesome, Rachel. So you kind of touched on it a little bit from your experience. If you were talking to somebody or giving advice to somebody just entering post-secondary, now you've been in post-secondary for a little while now, but if you were talking to somebody just coming up into that stage of life, what is a practical first step maybe that you would give somebody entering this new season of life so that they're able to really grow and really own that faith for themselves, like you just talked about?
Yeah, I think that going to post-secondary in the first place is just a huge time of transition for anybody. And it's a time when people become a lot more independent, and they really decide the kind of person they want to be and what they want to do. So it really is a great time to apply that to your faith as well, and take that step of independence in your faith. So I think that practically, ways to seek that out is really through getting involved in different groups. I know at mine we have Mosaic, of course, and we also have SASF, which is the Salvation Army group. And I know there's lots of other groups, and probably ones that I don't even know about. But they're really great because they really do give you a new perspective, and there's new people around you to learn from and to talk to. And going to the same church your whole life is great because you have such a close church family and friends, and it's amazing. But it can also kind of give you the same experience over and over again.
Right.
And while there are positives to that, like I said, it's just really good to get new experiences and meet new people and hear other people's stories and really expand your mind. And I think it's so important to be open to thinking about things in new ways. Just because we've always believed something our whole lives, or we always thought we should do a certain thing or shouldn't do a certain thing, it doesn't mean that that's necessarily the case always.
Right.
Yeah, and I think that that's one of the reasons that I do love coming to Mosaic so much, because one of the goals is to explore authentic spirituality. And even when somebody does preach, usually someone says at the end, like, okay, now let's talk about this. Let's think about this. What does this mean to you? And so I really like that it gives me that opportunity to see how it can apply to me. And it's just something different. And I think that that's really important.
Yeah. And it's often the different, or the experiences maybe that are a little bit outside of our norm, that really help us grow and that push us to grow, and they stretch us. So yeah, that's fantastic advice. Get involved, kind of stretch yourself, meet new people. And it's incredible too how faith and learning really go hand in hand in all of that too. That's awesome. Awesome advice. Okay, so the last question, my favorite question: what has God been teaching you lately?
What hasn't he?
Yeah, that's a good answer.
So, as just a person in general, I kind of experience a lot of fear and anxiety and nervousness. And kind of as you alluded to earlier, this is kind of out of my comfort zone. But something that God has really been teaching me lately is that fear and anxiety are okay. I shouldn't feel guilty for it. They're human emotions, they're things that humans deal with, so they're totally okay. But really, he's been showing me that I don't have to be a slave to that fear. I don't have to see fear as a stop sign. It can be like maybe just a speed bump or something that I have to overcome, but it doesn't have to stop me. And I think in the past, that's how I saw it. If I was afraid to do something, I just wouldn't do it. And I wouldn't even give it a second thought. I was just afraid, so it immediately left my mind. It wasn't something I was going to do. But really, I'm the only person stopping me from doing those things. It's just fear, or it's just anxiety. And while that can totally be serious, and people can get help in lots of other ways besides, praying and besides God, he really did show me that I don't have to be a slave to fear. I don't have to let fear stop me from doing things that are good for me and things that will help me grow. And that's really why I even started coming to Mosaic in the first place, because I was super nervous to go to a new place full of new people, and I didn't know what to expect, but I knew it would be an experience that would help me grow. And so I'm super, super thankful that God has been showing me that lately, because I've just grown in ways that I never thought were possible, just because I stopped letting fear have the final say.
Amazing. So amazing. I love that. I love that you said we don't have to be slaves to that fear. And I mean, fear is so real, and anxiety is so real, and like it's so relatable. So I think so many people are going to be so encouraged, even tonight, watching this and watching what God's doing in your life. So thank you. Thank you so much for sharing so openly. Thank you for being brave and saying yes to this. It's pretty amazing. I think a lot of the times God uses what he teaches us privately to encourage and to challenge people publicly, like through avenues like this. So I think a lot of people are going to be really, really encouraged by what you have to share tonight. So thank you so much, Rachel. You are, like I said earlier, a valued member of our Mosaic family. We're so thankful that you keep showing up, pushing through the nerves, showing up week after week. And we love you, and we are so thankful for everything. I mean, God is so evidently moving in your life, and we can't wait to watch you continue to grow. So thank you for being a part of this tonight.
Thank you so much.
Can we all just take a minute to thank Rachel for sharing her story with us? Go ahead right now, comment down below, send her a quick message, and just let her know that we are in her corner and we are so thankful that she's part of our Mosaic family. I also just wanted to take this time while I have it to honor our lead pastor and my husband, Stephen. There's so much that I could say about him, and I get the awesome privilege of having a front row seat to the deep care and concern that he has for each one of you, to the long hours and the hard work and the personal time that he spends with God and preparation that he puts in to make sure that Mosaic is an experience that is engaging and challenging and relevant for everybody. And can I just say that after this week in particular, I have an entirely new appreciation for just how difficult it is to study well and to compile your thoughts into a talk like this one. So Stephen, I honor you, we honor you, we love you, and thank you for leading us so well. So if I may, I just want to take a couple moments now tonight to share with you around this topic of fear. And like I said to Rachel, fear is real, anxiety is real. You all know that. These are real emotions that we face, some of us more intensely and more frequently than others, but we've all known fear on some level or another. And when I was chatting with Rachel about what God was teaching her, a specific verse kept coming to my mind. And that was Romans 8:15. So you have not received a spirit that makes you fearful slaves. Instead, you received God's Spirit when he adopted you as his own children. Now we call him Abba, Father. And I love the Message version's translation of this verse. It says, this resurrection life, I love that, you've received from God is not a timid, grave-tending life. It's adventurously expectant, greeting God with a childlike, what's next? This resurrection life. Resurrection literally means being raised from the dead. We were once dead in sin, but because of Jesus' sacrifice on the cross, we have been given this new vibrant life. And this new alive version of us was never created to be timid or fearful, but adventurously expectant. Who else wants to live life the way that God created and intended it to be, with adventurous expectancy? I know that I do. So tonight we're going to talk about just what that can look like as we journey with Jesus and as we continue on in this faith journey. I don't know about all of you, but I am a big advocate of self-discovery. So let me tell you what I mean by that. Anybody who knows me knows how much I love personality tests, okay? I can literally feel some of you that know me rolling your eyes at me through the camera because you know how much I love them. There's nothing more fascinating to me about being able to discover why I think the way that I do, why I respond the way that I do, what makes me tick, what makes me happy. And really the same goes for all of those around me and in my life. There's something so incredible to me about getting insight into the way that Stephen reacts to conflict, or what he needs from me really to feel secure and supported. And just a side note, I always think that if I can't understand really who I am and I'm self-aware that way, then how am I ever going to be able to communicate what my needs are or my feelings are to others around me? Just a bit of a tangent there. But now a little bit of a disclaimer. I don't ever believe that we should be put in a box when it comes to our personality or who we've been created to be. So please hear my heart on that. I believe that we should always be growing and learning and transforming as we journey with Jesus. Anyways, all of that to say, I've taken every personality test in the book. I've listened to every podcast, gotten my hands on every book in my own self-discovery efforts. But a couple years ago, a good friend of mine introduced me to the Enneagram test for the first time. Now, for those of you who do not know what the Enneagram test is, Google it right after this live stream and then take the assessment and message me and let me know what number you are so I can start to analyze you too. But I'm an Enneagram 6 wing 5. So this most often means that I am a worst case scenario thinker. I am the person that knows where all of the emergency exits are in a room. Always. I am the person who always has to know the entire plan from A to Z before I commit. I don't just commit to things. I don't just jump into things without knowing the details. If Stephen ever suggests that we try something new, I always have 1,000,001 questions about the activity, and my mind often races immediately to the what ifs. And can I be vulnerable and admit this to you tonight, that there have been moments in my life, I'm not necessarily proud of this, but there have been moments where I have actually let fear stop me from going somewhere or doing something or experiencing something. And even in some of the moments where I have been brave and pushed through and shown up, fear still often can steal the joy out of circumstances in my life that were meant to be life-giving and heart-filling. Can anybody else relate to this? Like Rachel and I talked about, fear is real, anxiety is real, yes, but we were never created to be slaves to our fear. And I loved when Rachel said that we were not created to live a life ruled by fear. That was never God's plan for our lives and relationship with Him. So let's dig in and let me walk you through some of the differences between a life ruled by fear and a life lived in adventurous expectancy through relationship and faith in God. And I really want you to hear this tonight. Fear stops, steals, and silences. But faith in God provides, protects, and produces. So let's unpack that together tonight. Fear wants to stop you in your tracks, tell you that you are not good enough and that things will never change, that it's easier and it's safer to just not show up at all and not to try. But God wants to provide you with opportunities and avenues and experiences to realize that He is your strength and that you can accomplish whatever is in front of you through faith because of His power in your life. 2 Corinthians 12:9-11 says, each time He said, my grace is all you need. My power works best in weaknesses, so that the power of Christ, so now I am glad to boast about my weaknesses so that the power of Christ can work through me. That's why I take pleasure in my weaknesses and in the insults, hardships, persecutions, and troubles that I suffer for Christ. For when I am weak, then I am strong. Friends, don't miss out on the opportunities that God puts in front of you because you are afraid. Step out into the opportunities with bold confidence, knowing that His strength is made perfect and complete when you feel like you can't do it, especially when you feel like you can't do it. And on the other side of your courage and your boldness to step out is when the growth happens. I loved when Rachel said that she realized she didn't have to let fear stop her from doing things, experiencing things that were going to help her grow. And just look at the ways that she has blossomed in her life because of her faith to rely on God's strength. So fear stops, but faith provides. Fear wants to steal your joy and rob you of abundant life, the abundant life that God has waiting for you. But God wants to protect your heart and your mind. He wants to release you from whatever it is that's holding you back from experiencing true freedom in a relationship with Him. He wants you, and His desire for you is to live life big and bold and find true joy in the journey with Him. John 10:10 says, the thief's purpose is to steal and kill and destroy, but my purpose is to give them a rich and satisfying life. Or as some other translations put it, life and life to the full. And in 2 Corinthians 3:17 it says, for the Lord is the Spirit, and wherever the Spirit of the Lord is, there is freedom. If you are in a relationship with Jesus tonight, the Spirit of the Lord lives within you. And Scripture tells us here that where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is true freedom. And you can experience that freedom from fear tonight. Fear steals. Faith in God protects. Fear wants to silence you from sharing your feelings, from sharing your faith, from sharing what you're going through. Fear keeps things hidden in our hearts and in our minds. Fear wants to turn down the volume on your life. And it convinces us that no one will ever care. No one will ever understand. It makes us wonder, what would people really think if they knew that about me? How would people really react if they knew the real me? What would people think if they knew I struggled with this? Or how would people react if they knew about my relationship with Jesus? But faith produces an unexplainable power and courage in your life. God speaks faith and hope into the middle of life's most fearful places. And his desire is that through faith you would step out of the darkness and into his glorious light. That the things that weigh you down and keep you up at night, that you would be brave enough not to just sit with them alone and in silence. That you would find accountability and the encouragement that you need in community. And that you would be willing to surrender all of those things over to a God who loves you and who breathes life into every struggle and every situation. In 1 Peter 2:9, it says, "But you are not like that, for you are a chosen people. You are royal priests, a holy nation, God's very own possession. As a result, you can show others the goodness of God, for he called you out of darkness and into his wonderful light." So fear silences, but faith produces. So hear that again, friends. Fear stops, steals, and silences, but faith in God provides, protects, and produces. So you may be asking, but how? How do I fight through or against the fear in my life? How do I get to a place of not just knowing these truths, but living them out in my everyday life? Can I suggest to you 3 really practical steps that I have found in my own life to be so beneficial when it comes to this topic? Number 1, turn to praise. Number 2, find community. And number 3, start today. One of the best pieces of advice I was ever given surrounding this topic of fear is if you're feeling any amount of anxiety or fear, train yourself to turn to praise. Now hear that word, train. It's not just something that happens overnight. It takes commitment and practice and discipline. But when you've developed that habit in your life, praise begins to shift your perspective and set your heart towards a healthy place. How many of you have ever experienced that in your life? Spending time in the presence of Jesus in time of worship and praise and gratitude changes everything. Your perspective, your vision, your focus. Fear and anxiety can't thrive in an environment of praise. It's not possible. So train yourself in moments of fear to turn to praise. I would also encourage you that community is so key in living a life that is not marked by fear. Find your community, find your people. We were never meant to journey alone. And I think fear more often than not leaves us feeling lonely. So surround yourself with authentic people in your life that can go the distance of you, that will not only push you out of your comfort zone, but will sit with you in the quiet moments of uncertainty. Surround yourself with people that you can share openly with. Nothing disarms fear like honesty. So share in your struggle and celebrate the victories with your community. And can I just encourage you tonight to be that for somebody else? I think God allows us to go through situations and circumstances in our lives so that we're able to speak hope and comfort and perspective into somebody else's life down the road. So surround yourself with good community and don't tackle it alone. And last but not least, start today. Take it one step at a time. Start small. And if this is a topic that really resonates with you tonight, start thinking even now, what does that look like for me to start small when it comes to overcoming my fear? Maybe it's reaching out to a friend for support. Maybe it's training your heart like we talked about to turn to praise. Maybe it's doing something that pushes you outside of your comfort zone. Now, don't rush the process, but start somewhere and start today. Start making those necessary changes in your life to leaving fear behind. I hope you are so encouraged tonight by Rachel's story and the ways that God is so evidently at work in her life, especially surrounding this topic of fear and anxiety. And my prayer for all of you tonight is that you would know this resurrection life that you have received from God. It's not a timid, grave tending life, but it's adventurously expectant, greeting God with a childlike, what's next? And may we all choose faith over fear today. By the power of the Holy Spirit at work in us, may we be able to combat the fear in our lives with the powerful knowledge that Jesus is always near to us. He cares for us. He sees every circumstance that we face, every situation that we come up against. He knows our deepest desires and our most crippling anxieties. And he places community in our lives like this one to help encourage and support and bring hope into the most fearful places of our lives. Again, thanks to Rachel for sharing with us a little bit about her story and what God is doing in her life. I really hope, and we really hope, that these story nights remind you that you're not alone. We're all on this journey together. We really want you to see yourselves and your stories and the stories of your peers and be encouraged that we're better together and we're doing life together. So as always at Mosaic, we really value time at the end to reflect on what was spoken about during the live stream. And so we're going to give you an opportunity tonight to dig through some smaller group questions. I really encourage you to do these things with a friend over FaceTime. Write down your answers in a journal or on your phone. If you're planning on joining us for our Mosaic After Party Zoom chats immediately following the live stream, it is not too late to sign up, so make sure that you do that. We'll be hanging out together and diving into some of these questions together over Zoom after the service is done. So take some time now, even for a few minutes, just to have your say in what was spoken tonight, and we will see you back here in a few short moments. Love you, Mosaic.
Thank you so much for being a part of our stream tonight, and especially those who are with us every week, taking in all the content and part of this What a Time to Be Alive series in this story tonight. So thank you so much. I want to remind you of all the great things that are happening this week. If you forget, the best thing to do is to stay close to our social media, Instagram and Facebook. Everything gets posted there regularly. But some things to remind you about immediately after this: we got our after party Zoom chat, so sign up for that and be a part of that conversation. We got our Netflix party happening Wednesday night at 7:30. We got our Mosaic snack packs next Sunday, so make sure you sign up for that as well. Small groups, you can be a part of those, and our study group on Thursdays. There's so much happening in the family of Mosaic, and we want you to be a part of it. As always, if you ever need anything, prayer, someone to reach out to, have a conversation with, email us, mosaiccampus.church@gmail.com. Send me a private message on Facebook. We're always here for you. We love you, Mosaic.